there. Yeah. Hello, Real Dialogue in Australia. It's Liz Tabish. I play Mary Magdalene in The Chosen. And
Hey there, Real Dialogue. We are so thrilled today to be able to chat with Liz Tabish. If you don't know who she is as an actress, maybe you've seen her as Mary Magdalene in The Chosen. So, just to kind of get started I find that, kind of going through and looking at the role of Mary Magdalene, you kind of sit in some amazing company. I mean, when you're looking at like Monica Bellucci, you're looking
oh,
at Rooney Mara, Juliette Binoche, but
and
interestingly enough,
Bancroft.
reading some. Yeah, so, wow. I mean, it's quite an honor. I mean, it's just some great, amazing actresses that you're kind of sitting in the same seat with. But interestingly enough, the reviews I've seen about you and also fan responses about you is that yours is probably one of the most authentic, in-depth, and human portrayals of Mary Magdalene that they've seen. And you're actually really setting the benchmark for the character. So I find that fascinating. When you were preparing for this role, did you look to any of those other actresses as far as inspiration for what you do, or did you look?
I think in my acting career, I've always looked for inspiration to the classics and Bancroft especially. I remember being really impressed with their performances, but
Right.
specifically for the role, I was really nervous about letting too many things outside of the world of The Chosen influence the
Okay.
character. So I just focused on the script that they gave me and her backstory that was so beautifully written, and then also just what I knew from the Bible. And so I was just
Sure.
trying to I didn't want to try to recreate something that was already done, but it was already written in such a unique way that it was easy to just focus in on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just been phenomenal. And then one of the things too is that kind of looking through your filmography and kind of your career and what you've done prior to this is probably one of the first roles where you're playing somebody that was a real life character. I mean, a real
oh yeah.
person in history. And so, how did that influence kind of some of your preparations in preparing for the role?
There's so much speculation about who Mary Magdalene was,
Right.
and there's a lot of, I think, fan fiction and a lot of kind of speculation that goes off on different tangents of if she was Jesus's wife or if she was a prostitute. And there's just so much about her
Sure.
that we know about just from media depictions and not necessarily her as a historical figure.
Right.
So the basis of the way they wrote her in The Chosen is just rooted in the Gospels of her having been possessed and Jesus, exorcising these demons from her. So that's how we're introduced to her. And I didn't even realize that when I first got the script that was part of her story. I was like, well, how haven't I seen that in any other media
Right.
depiction? I think a lot of stories about Jesus focus on the crucifixion and like the moments leading up to that. And so The Chosen is pretty unique in the way that they are starting way back, a few
Yeah.
years before that, of his 3 years of ministry and what that looked like. And so who was Mary before she is the Mary that we know now? The woman that sees Jesus resurrected for the first time. And so, yeah, I mean, I wanted to honor the writer's interpretation as much as
Sure. Phenomenal
possible.
job. I mean, our fans here are just so thrilled that they had a chance to chat with you today. But then even my family, I have to admit,
Oh,
my wife
sweet.
and my daughter were quite excited about this whole thing.
Oh,
Um,
that's
one
nice
of
to hear.
one of the questions that our audience had for you was in playing somebody, you get to do something unique. You get to travel back in time. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily get to do in their lives, but you get to travel back in time in a way. As far as you're playing somebody who lived 2000 plus years ago. How do you kind of stay away from trying, or maybe even the writers staying away from kind of bringing just a modern interpretation of Mary Magdalene, opposed to playing kind of what most people are seeing as a very authentic role of who she was in that time?
It's such an interesting dance because I've heard other interpretations where they're like, this is a very modern version of
Right.
Jesus in this story. I think it kind of depends on the viewer's interpretation of it, because I
Oh,
think to some
okay.
people it feels modern and fresh and new, and to others it feels very yeah, I don't know, traditional and authentic. But I think that speaks to the way they cast it, which is they have culturally appropriate actors and
Right.
ethnically appropriate actors that are representing the people of that area. And this is a place where lots of people were coming and going, so it's lots of different ethnicities, and this sort of Jewish heritage and cultural norms. Like there's a real focus on that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's up to you if you see that it's modern or not. I personally think it's a really beautiful blend of modern storytelling, which we get to do through a television series where we have a long period of time to tell this story, as well as character developments, the things that we're used to as an audience, as well as these more traditional approaches, which is focusing on the culture.
Yeah, right. Yes. Now, thanks for that. Because we do. I mean, there were different people, obviously, that see it as a modern translation, while others kind of go, well, no, actually, it seemed to be true, even though none of us were really back there thousands of years ago. So I think that's what it looks like. But yeah, so anyway, I think that you've done a great job, as well as the crew there at The Chosen. Now, for you personally, one of the other questions was, how has this role, because you've been sitting in it for so many years, and you most likely will be sitting in it, we hope, for many years to come, how has this role changed your perspective on life, or maybe even your worldview?
It's been a really beautiful, like, parallel journey along with Mary. Right before I booked the role, I was about to quit acting. I was in a depression. I had no idea what was next. I couldn't see the next day. And I had so many rejections and couldn't pay rent and living with my mom. And I was just like, okay, something needs to change. And I thought it was going a very different direction, maybe editing or teaching or just like something practical. So I told my agent to stop submitting me. He submitted me anyway to this role. And
we're very glad.
It's been life-changing. The first scenes that I read, I just broke down. It spoke to me so personally and so directly that it felt like it was written for me. And as Mary's gone through these transformations and has been able to grow in her journey, I feel like I get to follow suit, and like I'm almost being led by this story of what it really looks like to have a transformation in your life, what it looks like to really have joy and hope and peace in your life. And it's just opened my eyes and heart to the world of there's so many wonderful experiences that have from this, of people now reaching out and sharing their own stories, and them also saying, like, that's me. Mary, I've been her. I understand this story. So in this experience, I'm realizing that I'm not alone in my experiences, and in many ways we're never alone.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. Well, and that was because that was one of the other questions, because we work with a lot of different actors and actresses with real dialogue. And one of the questions that kind of came along was how much of, because it is kind of hard to separate the two sometimes, is how much of Mary is Liz and how much is not, or who is it that you don't think you could be in regards to Mary? So it's kind of curious. I know that's maybe more of an artistic question, but
I feel like there's been it started off as me bringing my own sort of pain and using the character as this vehicle to almost I don't know, have this cathartic experience.
Sure.
And so because I connected with the Lilith portion so much, it was very easy to portray those scenes, because I had been feeling it for so long, this despair. And then as she has transformed, now I feel like she's influencing me, and I'm just following suit of the way she's written, the way she's growing, which is, over time, a very natural progression of growth. It's not just like, bam, I'm finished, I'm fine, I'm great. She still has to deal with PTSD. She still deals with, being triggered and the shame and guilt of her past, and what growth looks like. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I feel like I've been able to sort of like, follow her lead. And now I feel like there's just like this very, just it becomes, I don't know, second nature now. Anytime I do a scene, the voice comes through, the mannerisms, I'm like, oh, she's like my, best friend sort of thing, where I can slip into it now and perform it,
Yeah, fantastic. No, that'll be great, especially for my acting daughter. She just
Hi.
absolutely was. She was like
Yeah.
really curious about that. But yeah. So now we're gonna get down towards the end, but especially for our audience. So now the reason why we're even having this
Yeah.
opportunity of chatting is because they're going to be showing the finale for
Yeah.
season 3 in theaters. So kind of curious, why would you think that people should go see this in theaters opposed to just sitting back and watching this in their home?
I mean, I think, first of all, the first 2 episodes being in theaters, there was such a wonderful response to it. People came out, they saw it, they loved it. And I'm thinking of those 2 episodes compared to these 2 episodes. I'm like, these two have to be on the big screen. They're
Right.
amazing storylines and like things that I think just being in a theater with people and seeing it on the big screen is just going to be really incredible. So there's like already a demand for it, but I think it's going to be a really nice, like, special occasion, special experience that is kind of rare to be able to watch TV in the theaters, like
Yeah.
that's
Oh, it's
it's
great.
never done. And I think it's gonna be a very memorable thing that I don't think people will want to miss. They'll look back and be like, I wish I went to that. So
Yeah.
I think there's some really great surprises in it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I think that, I mean, honestly, I'm one of those that prefer to see everything on the big screen opposed to the
Right.
small one. So I think that, yeah, definitely, hopefully everyone does get out to see The Chosen, the finale there in cinemas. It's going to be coming up here soon. Now, I'm going to say just thanks again for this opportunity of chatting, and we just real dialogue. Our team loves The Chosen, but also has really come to appreciate you over the years. I'm very thankful for the work that you
Thank
do.
you.
All right. Well, that was just a fantastic time with Liz Tabish from The Chosen. Thanks. This is Russ Matthews with Real Dialogue. Real Dialogue is where the discussion of film and faith come together.